Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Terabent Leadership. Let's see how this video goes. It's having many problems before with freezing or whatnot and going on X. So let me give you a quick update. Those who join, appreciate your time. Let me give you a quick update and we'll get into the program. So I've been suspended for the fifth time on X. If you remember, I was suspended about a month ago. I appealed it. And then all of a sudden I was back on X. Usually I thought they would send you a note, you're back on. I didn't even know I was back on. I just happened to click on my link to X and I found out I was back on. This time I've been suspended. I did an appeal. The appeal was blocked and it's permanent. This would be the fifth time. And unless for some reason in the future I'm somehow invited or someone wants to collaborate and help me out get back, it's fine. I'm not going to get back on X anymore. It's turned into an absolute embarrassment how patriots are being treated in America. And we go on and on, whether it's white men or even a military veteran, that this is X Elon Musk. So is what it is. I'll do a quick background story on it. Let me see if anyone's up. We'll do a quick background story on the X issue, and that is when I first got on X, and it just shows again where I keep saying about how the amount of government control that's happening in America, where most people don't realize it, because when you're coloring within the lines with your actions, your speech, whatever, you don't realize it. You start saying things that are against the government or against the status quo, you're going to realize that there is a force coming at you. So anyway, when I first got on X, this has been September of 2023. We're talking within like 3 to 4 months, I was suspended permanently. And once I got on X, it was moving fast. It passed 10,000 followers, and you could tell there was momentum. The reason that it was suspended was advocating violence. And of course, I appealed and I said, what did I say? And this is the typical thing. Remember, this is X, this is Elon Musk, this is MAGA, these are the Republicans. These are not liberals, or this is not a foreign social media like TikTok. This is Elon Musk, man, free speech. And I said, what did I say that was violent? Well, they're not going to tell you. Well, thanks for the transparency. You think they would? That's something. That's a red flag right there. Why? Why wouldn't you say this? We hear the same issue all the time where these companies and corporations and the governments hide. But if you're going to suspend someone for something they said, show it to them. Say, this is what you said. They didn't say it. The only thing I could predict is, or the only thing I could think of is, I predict many times civil war. But there's a difference between predicting and promoting violence. But we're going to go to civil war. It is what it is. But anyway, then I made 2 other accounts, like sort of right in a row. One was suspended immediately because they said they knew it was me. It's a duplicate account. Made the third one, duplicate account. And then this one was the fourth one, but I changed the name. I didn't write my name. I just said Terabent Leadership, stuff like that. I think Patriots betrayed. Eventually, though, I changed it back to David Baumblatt. But anyway, I don't even remember what I got suspended for a month ago, and it was appealed. But anyway, that long story short, it is what it is. The whole thing's a complete embarrassment. But like I said, I think this is going to get worse and worse and worse because, like I said, free speech, which is interesting. Let me talk a little bit, and I've said this before. We got some videos. Now, there's correlation and causation, and we're just going to say coincidence. But when my videos were freezing up and I was suspended on X, again, we're just going to say coincidence. But the video that I was going to do, I think it was Sunday, was Israelis' influence on America. That was the topic. And immediately I posted like 10 videos about, just very interesting videos about Israel's influence on America into my X post, just boom, 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 boom. And then sure enough, I can't remember, it was like 5 to 6 hours later, totally suspended. Coincidence? I don't know. It's not like I went on social media here to talk about these subjects. It's just the thought again that the government just want to be left alone with my passport. But anyway, is that coincidence? Who knows? But yeah, it was a very you could say anti-Israel broadcast to talk about the undue influence on America. That video was just if you remember, I did a live feed for like less than 5 minutes. The whole thing froze up and I just said, screw it, just deleted the whole thing. But then I took the videos and I posted them on X. Boom, 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 boom. And there was like 10 videos. So completely suspended. So anyway, let me talk to you again about something else that I thought's interesting. I guess it's a topic about Israel. Again, that's not my platform. I'm not here to talk about anti-Israel. You do what you want. I mean, this country is still going to go down, like I keep saying about civil war. But anyway, what was interesting is when I first posted, again, this sort of like maybe a coincidence with the anti-Israel broadcast, and then bam, the whole X was just completely suspended. I'm not going to get on again. So if you remember when I first did my very first social media, it was on YouTube. That's where I've said this many times. I was just going to use YouTube. I wasn't really paying attention to all these other social medias. Wasn't really my thing. And I watched YouTube also. I had a VPN in mainland China, so I was a consumer of YouTube. Anyway, I did that video. Everyone probably knows it now, the episode 1, and that was censored. The story, everything that there's background behind it. But my buddy said, upload it on TikTok. And TikTok at the time, I guess still is, you could do long form videos because it's like 20 minutes or something like that. And I said, you sure? He goes, I'm telling you, load on TikTok. I loaded that thing on TikTok, like literally over 100,000 views in like the first week. And bam, my TikTok blew up and I was doing very well. There's a video here, because it got deleted. Anyway, TikTok was doing very well. And I still remember, I'm on my like 5th TikTok. I won't do any more. But anyway, I remember when I posted, because I started posting other topics, I posted one about Germany, the immigrants, and saying sort of negatively about Angela Merkel, the chancellor, who I think is probably one of the worst chancellors in the history of Germany. Immediately, that was my first warning, like flag. That video got banned or whatever, that little 30-second clip. Then I remember a couple weeks later, I did the UK, same sort of topic, immigration, boom, banned or flag. And then there was something, and I could tell, I'm like, wow, I think I'm going to get kicked off TikTok too. And TikTok was doing great. Sure enough, suspended again. Or I mean, that account was suspended, another account suspended, 4th account. I'm on my 4th account. So what am I trying to say here? What I don't think people know is, and I've said this before, if you're going to go on social media in the West and you're going to talk about topics like leadership, politics, philosophy, in order for you to gain fame or have numbers, you have to pass the gatekeepers. People were surprised because they said, this doesn't make sense. TikTok is a Chinese company. You don't get it. TikTok, ByteDance, now it is a Chinese-owned company. There's no doubt about it. And ByteDance in mainland China is different than TikTok overseas. Totally different control. But the Chinese government under TikTok, if they want to have that platform in Western countries, they have to abide by the gatekeepers. And I'm telling you, the gatekeepers, who are they? I don't know. Maybe it's Israel. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. One of the clips I didn't show you is all of a sudden, in TikTok I posted a couple weeks ago, it was a clip that talked about how Donald Trump is basically in cahoots with Israel. The video got censored and I got warned, and I did an appeal, and the appeal was, why are you censoring this video? These were all clips from mainstream media, like a clip from CNN, a clip from Fox News, but if you put them together, it shows that Donald Trump is either bribed or he's compromised by Israel. So my appeal was, this is all mainstream media clips. They finally undid it and let the clip go, because again, it was just all mainstream media. So I say again, if you think you're going to get on mainstream media or mainstream social media and start talking about topics like politics and leadership, you really are going to have to pass the gatekeepers, or you have somehow sort of like, I guess a great example would be Tucker Carlson. If you remember Tucker Carlson, he started out through the corporations. He was Fox News. So he was able to build up such a high following, but playing the game. Now Tucker Carlson is going off the rails, and I think he's much more on it now than he was before. But because he's built up so much fame, it is harder to subdue him. And who knows, he might get in trouble before. But if you're going to be like me, out of the nowhere and grassroots built up, I don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, it is what it is. There's no more X for me, and I don't think I'm going to go back on X unless something weird happens. I get invited or some person says they're going to help me out. I have no interest. It's a complete embarrassment. Like I said, how grown men, let alone military veterans, are treated. I mean, do you see what stuff's on social media? The amount of, I don't know, pornography, foreigners, all this stuff. An American military veteran gets kicked off, and they don't want to do it. Like I said, I think it's a complete embarrassment. So let's do a couple things. Let's play a couple clips. These are some of the clips that I was able to do, and it just makes no sense in the world how this can be mainstream media in the West. Just from a leadership standpoint, something is wrong. So let's just get the ball rolling with this clip.
Smearing people in and out of the administration. Stop trashing, smearing, bullying the little state of Israel. Stop cozying up to and telling us that the enemy regime in Iran is now more rational, more moderate, and a regime that we can deal with. When just a few months ago they slaughtered 50,000 people, they're still hanging young people today. And if they had a nuclear missile today, they'd fire it into our country as sure as I'm alive. I don't know what's going on, but if people think they can bully a little country, a people that have existed 4,000 years, through the Babylonians and the Persians, through the Romans and the Third Reich, into surrendering their defense and their decision on how to secure their country, they got another thing coming.
So let's just take a look at that. If that person was a private American citizen, or of course, if he's working for the Israeli government, meaning he's actually an Israeli, it makes sense. But this person is an American citizen who is very influential in our government. We're talking Fox News. I mean, he's got the president ear. It's almost as if, maybe not almost, maybe very sincerely, making a threat to Americans that if we bother Israel, whatever. I mean, it's amazing. When, again, the topic of that video was the undue influence that Israel has on America. Like I said, if I was looking at an agent of a foreign power, I'd probably look at Israel first. Then I would be looking at China and Russia and all these other things. But just like I said, if he was just a normal American citizen, whatever, everyone's got their own kooky opinions. If he loves Israel so much, I'd probably say probably move to Israel. That's probably a good thing. But this person is literally an earshot away from the White House, totally co-op with Fox News. This is not an ordinary American citizen. That's not normal what they're saying. And the point is, I would tell Mark, I was like, why don't you care more about American military veterans and less about Israel, right? Wouldn't that be a good sign of patriotism? Care more about American military veterans and less about Israel. I found the whole thing weird. Like I said, living in China, you start seeing America very differently. It just doesn't really make sense. Anyway, let's go through some of these videos. I'm going to try to do a leadership point because, like I said, I keep saying you are going to start seeing things you have never seen before in a negative light. And it all points to the same direction. Our system's not working anymore. And I think some of the most wacky people that I've met, and I'm not a Democrat, I don't vote anymore. The Democrats suck. No, the Democrat. But I could tell you something. These MAGA people, they're turning into retarded cult people. I'm going to give you an example. You think this Iran war is going to be a success? A great famous general, General MacArthur, there is no substitute for victory. After this Iranian negotiation, which I think Iran's going to win on this, but either way, are we going to win? And even if Donald Trump comes back and says, well, we got to win. We had a little, you either won or you lost. Anything in the middle, again, General MacArthur, there is no substitute for victory. You either won or you lost. There's no halfway. There's no, well, we sort of got 70%. You either won or you lost. This whole war from the very start of this Iranian war was an absolute, just a theatrical show that is in nowhere near the interests of America. And I'm telling you, this guy, Donald Trump, he's turning into a salesman. It is what it is. But you're going to see MAGA people. I guarantee at the end of this Iranian negotiations, Donald Trump is going to spin this like a salesman. It's like, we won. And I think the MAGA people are going to eat it up. He won. It's going to be a total failure. Like what I'm trying to do is the same thing when you're seeing a military veteran here. There are foreigners on social media, all these things. Why would I be censored? Why am I on the FBI terrorist watch list? And why is the entire government silent? It's not making sense anymore. And like I said, a lot of these MAGA people, I have no doubt about it, they're going to be brainwashed by Trump, and Trump is going to spin this that he won the USA, Israel, Iran war. And I think they're going to believe him. They're going to say it was won. It's going to be a total complete failure. Give it time. Anyway, let's go to Charlie Kirk on this.
I don't think we should bomb Iranian. I'll just be very honest with you, something that I'm against. I don't think we should bomb Iranian nuclear facilities. I just don't. I think it'd be a huge mistake. It's an act of war against a major country. You go to war with Persia, it will bring your country down. The American people did not rise up in major numbers because we want war with Iran. That was never part of the deal. Okay? It was never like, hey, America first, comma, we're going to go do a bunch of, targeted strikes on the inland of Iran. So that's just where I would say that would be a catastrophic mistake. Why we believe this. We have so many pressing problems at home, and our leaders are internationally obsessed, and they are domestically ignorant.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, this Iran war is as far as can be from America first, but it's weird. You'll see same thing with the MAGA people. They're like, look at X on again, I'm talking about X because I'm a little shocked, but it's like, whatever. I kind of also predicted this, but when you have these MAGA influencers, these people are making millions, meaning millions of followers at least, when they're saying that Elon Musk has given us free speech, just on that alone, when you as an American have to depend on a private I guess he's a trillionaire now, great for capitalism. When you have to depend on this rich businessman for freedom of speech, something's wrong in America, just on that alone. But anyway, notice these presidents, we talk about Donald Trump. Look at these other presidents. Not much different what's going on.
Isolationism, and what's interesting about our country, if you study history, is that there are some isms that occasionally pop up. One is isolationism, and its evil twin protectionism, and its evil triplet nativism. So if you study the 20s, for example, there was an American first policy that said, who cares what happens in Europe? Well, what happened in Europe mattered eventually because of World War II. There was Smoot-Hawley, which was a part of an economic policy, which basically said we don't want trade. In other words, let's throw up barriers. And there was an immigration policy that I think during this period argued we had too many Jews and too many Italians, therefore we should have no immigrants. And my point to you is we've been through this kind of period of isolationism, protectionism, nativism. I'm a little concerned that we may be going through the same period. I hope that these isms pass, which would then allow for a more orderly look at immigration policy. Rational immigration policy eventually passed.
It's always interesting, too, and again, not much different. These Republicans and Democrats, Trump campaigned to be a different president, and in some ways, maybe I'll still give him that, but he's really going back to the same thing. But anyway, from a leadership standpoint, it's always good to give what is the leader's vision, right? A lot of these presidents, obviously on the campaign trail, it's so subjective, it's so much rainbows that it's hard to point down. For a great example, make America great again. Ask 100 different MAGA people, we're talking full-blown MAGA supporters, what is make America great again? I would bet there's debate on that. Like, I don't know what it is. Meaning you have to ask the leader himself, Donald Trump, what is a make America great again? I think generally speaking, he's a CEO, so he's probably going to think rich. So let's get money. I get it. That definitely would help. It's usually money still for the top 1% because this system, but it's interesting. What's our vision going? But here's a clip from Donald Trump. Is he delivering on what he promised? No, but who's going to deliver better? What, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Gavin Newsom? Country's going to, we'll talk about it later. Ain't going to happen, people. It's going to get worse.
No new war. What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war.
I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
No more wars, no more disruptions. We will have prosperity and we will have peace.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more disruptions, and we will have prosperity and peace for all. I am the candidate of peace. I am peace.
But you said it over and over again, Mr.
Why would I build a
President.
military? Now, I didn't want to use this, but I'm doing you and everybody else a big favor.
And part of leadership, you give people the benefit of the doubt. But then again, this is Trump's second term. Very close. He's going to be midway through this second term. There's rumors of him running for a third term. I wouldn't doubt that, but still, we'll just say he's got generally 2 more years left. When's this Make America Great dream going to happen? What is this dream, right? What was he pushing on? Like I said, I think the best way to understand Trump is to look at him as a CEO, which he is different than the other politicians. So this is where the illegal immigration makes perfect sense from a CEO. It's an economic drain on society. Crime is also an economic drain on society. So he's hitting that right. I think the Democrats are retarded when they're talking or defending about illegal immigration. Illegal immigration really, I think, is a really cut and dry issue. But you start talking about legal immigration, oh my God, both sides will cave. So the point is where are we going on this? And we'll talk about it, but sooner or later, like I said, Trump's term is almost going to be over. What were the goals? What do we accomplish? We're still not out of this war in Iran, and our country's falling apart. But anyway, let's go. Let's talk a little to Tucker. Now, again, I keep saying Tucker started out conventionally. He's made a lot of money, and he's made a great following. And I think now he's, I guess you could say, in his retirement age. He's a senior father. And I think he doesn't care anymore, which is good. He's sort of speaking his mind. So Tucker has been like a glass of fine wine. He's aged fine. But you got to remember what he preached when he was in Fox News. A lot of it was off. It was really off. But anyway, at least he's getting better now.
No. An all-Jew. Could you have these communities without welfare? No. An all-Jewish ethnic enclave in upstate New York. At one point, they were the poorest town in America, with 40% living beneath the poverty line. They had the highest fertility rates in America, having 7 to 10 plus kids, anomalously high rates of welfare dependency, from Medicaid to SNAP, EBT, to Section 8 housing vouchers. This is definitionally a parasitic, insulated Jewish community I found in upstate New York. It's all statistically corroborated. I'm not pulling these out of my ass. These are welfare stats I was quoting, and then I would go to the direct source asking these people, are you on welfare?
What was anti-Semitic about it?
What we found after putting this Jewish video out is that there's almost like an immune system response. There is a tribal mentality of, why are you attacking these poor innocent Jews who just want to mind their own business?
You weren't out to attack Jews or Muslims or Somalis or anyone else. You just want to say this is what happens when a country's decency is leveraged against it.
Exactly.
I don't think Tucker would be doing those shows on Fox News or whatever. In fact, I still don't believe Tucker has awakened totally. I still believe when it comes to the white race, I think he's still, you could say, on the borderline. He definitely wasn't before, meaning on Fox News. You hear this all the time. Race doesn't matter. The color of our skin, the content of our character. It's not going to work, people. It's not. It's not based on the laws of nature. And I say this again. You could be a white person in the West, which is woke. I mean, remember, basically, you've got the Western countries, which are feminism, liberalism, and you've got the entire non-Western world. It's not just China, it's the entire non-Western world, and also Israel, that it's the patriarchy and it is ethno-nationalism. So again, meaning you can believe as a white person all you want in the West that race isn't real, race isn't real, race isn't real. But I'm telling you, the entire rest of this world believes it. The same thing you could say that gender isn't real, gender isn't real. Good luck, because the rest of the world, the non-Western world, believes that. And what are the laws of nature? Species is real, subspecies, heterogeneous species. This is what we have. It's like there's a dog and there's species of dog, and there's gender, there's male and female. So again, I definitely believe Tucker has gotten better and better. But that never would have flown when he was back in Fox. Anyway, let's talk about this other person. This man, I forgot his name, Jimmy Dore. I would like to get on his show if I could. I think we see a lot eye to eye. But let's talk about Jimmy a little bit.
I spoke at the UN. They tapped into my phone using Pegasus.
Actually?
Yeah, that actually happened. So when I spoke at the UN Security Council, I did it via Zoom, and it was on the anniversary of the Nord Stream pipeline bombing. And I gave a speech, and I gave it to them, like you're all dupes and idiots if you think that this was done by Russia, and the fact that, Germany would bend their knee and let them to wreck their own economy. Now they're paying 2 and 3 times higher for air, and to go along with this, and you're all morons. And so on the plane ride home, it said MacBook now controls your iCloud account. And I was like, what is this? So I get off, I call my IT guy, who is former military intelligence, and he goes, oh my God, Jimmy, even I couldn't do that. And I go, well, who did this? He goes, it wasn't a person.
No.
This was a state actor.
Yeah.
So now they got me. They either have all my compromising material or they planted something. You'll know if I'm arrested or if some big scandal comes out, it's because I now have become an actual threat.
Yeah, so I'll make 2 comments on that. So everyone hopefully knows my story in 2019 when I entered the Chicago International Airport and I had to surrender all of my media, my technology, my computer, my phone, everything like that. And then it was taken into a back room. I had to give up the password, stuff like that. When I got it back, that was manipulated. There was tracking devices put in there. This is when they were able to put me under surveillance. But the point being is talk about a warrant. So this is coming from the FISA. So some FISA judge, and it's all secret. No one will know it. People say sue the FBI. You cannot sue the FBI if it's national security. You're going to get nowhere. So in the secretive FISA court, this is without doubt, a judge signed that warrant for these FBI. They not only, because obviously there's a difference in legality and also morality when you're searching, spying, looking at our private information, which is bad. 2, it's when you're manipulating it. So when I had my media and my technology gadgets given back, they were manipulated. So anyway, so that's number 1. Number 2 is, I guess one thing I say, if you're living in America and the FBI wants to spy on you, there's nothing you can do. It is what it is, people. Nothing you can do. But obviously I'm overseas. It helps a little. But if you feel like any of your hardware or your technology, your phone, stuff like that has been somehow hacked, the only really thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get rid of it and buy a new one. The same thing when his administration went to China. They bring on secondary laptops and phones only for the purpose of China, and they don't even take them back to America. So you'll have loaners or whatever. So if that should happen, you're going to have to get literally a new phone or a new computer. But if you're living in America, I give this sometimes advice. If I was an American, I'd be more worried about the American government spying on you and less about the Chinese government spying on you. If I was a Chinese person, I'd be more worried about the Chinese government spying on me and less about the American government. So just a little something. But if you're an American, I would be buying Chinese products for computers, Huawei, and phones. And if I was Chinese, I'd be buying Apples. Why? There is a bit of a backstop that would help you. But again, if I was an American, if you're an American and you're worried about the Chinese or the Russians spying on you, I mean, unless you're of such an important essence, an asset, no, I'd be more worried about the FBI spying on you because it's much more easier and they are going to look at you more as a threat. Same thing as a Chinese citizen. I mean, if you're a regular Chinese citizen, the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, we don't really care about you. So as a normal Chinese citizen, I'd be more worried about the Chinese government spying on you. Anyway, let's keep going with another video.
Past 20 minutes that had fallen down. I saw Building 7. First of all, it was broadcast 20 minutes that had fallen down by BBC before it ever fell.
The Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has.
You're like, wait a minute, this building that wasn't hit by a plane hit a building 200 yards away from it.
Very far away. Yeah.
And then it fell into its own footprint, like out of sympathy for the other buildings. And so that's when I knew something was up. Whenever you're not allowed to question something, that's when you know they're up to something.
Of course.
Yeah, and this is many times it irks. I don't even would say stuff to my Jewish friends. It's weird, but the Jewish identity, which really shouldn't be. I know there's a lot of negative feelings about the Jews in Israel. I get it. I mean, I've said many times, I believe that Israel has probably the most amount of influence in America. But anyway, we could talk about good stuff about the Jews. But anyway, this World War II, the Holocaust, Adolf Hitler is so tied to their identity that it's very strange for for a group of people that had thousands of years, this and that. So anyway, my stance on World War II, now I'll say it. What is it? Well, it's similar. It's very similar to 9/11. I don't believe we know the truth of what happened in 9/11. And that happened right on American soil in modern America, meaning modern, with all the technology, with all the information, all the organizations and agencies that should be able to give us what truly happened. I don't believe what happened. You think we're going to know really what happened in World War II, the Holocaust, Adolf Hitler, everything that happened on another continent, you know, almost not 100 years ago, but almost 100 years ago with that type of technology? So what's my stance on World War II and all that? I don't believe we know the whole truth. Don't believe we know the whole truth. And that right there is just to say it's extremely sensitive is an understatement. It's just so much tied to their identity. Like if you're an American or whatever race of people or nationality, like the Chinese, I mean, there's so much to the Chinese history that's tied to it. You know, the Opium Wars was really horrible what happened to the Chinese, but they're not really dredged down in the Opium Wars. They look to their long history. I mean, as an American, I don't know, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, you know, whatever, the good and the bad. But I'll tell you, when the Jews, that World War II, and look at even Adolf Hitler. Again, this is not today's topic, but I keep saying this guy, Adolf Hitler, is going to become immortal. Immortal. To this day, I mean, this guy just wreaks fear or honor or hatred or whatever. I guess in 1,000 years, we're still going to be reverberating this man's name. And all the other generals and presidents during that time, like you're going to say, have you ever heard of General Eisenhower or President Eisenhower? Never heard of him. What about Adolf Hitler? Oh my God, don't say his name. Like it just, that whole thing. And I said this before too, about how even in America, we constantly honor our World War II veterans. It's always World War II. Something going on. But like I said, my stance is I do not believe we know the truth of what happened. The Nazis, about Hitler, about the Holocaust. Just don't believe we know the truth. And it is what it is. But let's keep going with another video.
That the establishment is pushing. You have to swallow so much stuff to believe the story that the establishment is pushing for Charlie Kirk's assassination. So this guy finds the open stairwell. He brings the gun up, but it's too big, so he has to take it apart and put it in his backpack. Still too big for his backpack, so he has to put it down his pant legs. But then if he did, he couldn't go up the steps because he couldn't bend his knees. So I don't know how he got it up there. Nobody will tell me. So he gets up there, and then he changes his clothes.
Changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point.
He's up on top of that roof for 10 minutes. Nobody sees him. The cops don't see him. The $1 million security team doesn't see him. Nobody sees him except people in the crowd did see him.
Oh, there's somebody on the roof right there?
So he puts the gun together, takes the shot, hits it perfect, takes the gun apart, leaves the screwdriver there.
A screwdriver that was found on the rooftop.
Puts it under a towel, Spider-Man's his way off the top of a building, runs across campus with the gun apparently under a towel. Nobody sees this. He runs into the woods, puts the gun back together again without the screwdriver. He's a regular MacGyver, this guy. And then he hides the gun in the backyard of a house owned by Palantir. And if you think anything else besides that, you're a crazy Jew-hating conspiracy nut.
I mean, do you believe this anymore? And remember, this is the FBI, Danny Bongino and the Indian man, Kash Patel. They know about me. Because you got to use common sense. If they don't know about me, it's not a very impressive intelligence agency, right? They know about me. I'm a former FBI agent, and I have FBI corruption to report. And what did they do? What did they say when they were part of the Trump campaign team? We're going to fix the FBI. We're going to fix corruption. We're going to get probably a good idea to at least talk with me, investigate. They have a duty. They didn't. Why? These guys are scumbags. They're hiding it. They're hiding corruption. So the point is that because I understand my place and my microcosm, I can now transfer that to other scenarios like the Charlie Kirk assassination. I don't believe in what happened. That's what happened. Meaning, it doesn't matter who you are or what your place is. If you have experienced personal government corruption at your level, even if other people don't believe you, but obviously it happened to you, so you know it, then what does it do? It changes your whole mind. Changes your whole mind on stuff. And I kind of knew this, but wow. Talk about when I left America in 2010. These people have a vengeance. It really is in terms of the government. We'll do one final video and then I'll rehash leadership.
Will make violent revolution.
Like, how do we get out of this?
Well, John F. Kennedy said those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable, right? Or some version of that.
That's certainly true.
And so, we have more guns in this country than people. In a sense, that's good because the government's supposed to fear the people, not the other way around. When you fear your government, that's tyranny. And right now, I think people do fear their government.
Yes.
Again, I'm not calling for a violent revolution, but you have to shut down the machine. And if you can shut down the machine in a meaningful way, if all the truckers stop trucking, if all the railroad workers stop going to work, port workers, that's how you gain control. That's the only way. If anybody else has another idea, let me know. I'll be all for it. But to me, that's the way that history proves that you can have peaceful revolution.
All right, I'm going to do, obviously, I'm not even in the mood to make videos anymore, and I might just stop my social media. We'll see where it goes. I did this before, but when I went in public in 2023 in September, the goal is to get the media to help me and also the American public, especially the MAGA, not there at all, which just shows if the American people aren't willing to help a military veteran, they're probably not going to help you, whoever you are. If you're an American citizen, this is where leadership is. If they're not going to help a West Point grad who's a whistleblower of government corruption, do you think they're going to help you? Probably not, unless you think somehow you're more special than me. So it's probably not. So what does it mean? This system's going down. And also, the same reason we always like to point out that the bad people are in these high government places or these corrupt politicians and these CEOs has a lot to do with the normal American people. Garbage in, garbage out. There's about 350 American citizens. How many would I say could be my fellow American citizens? I don't know. 10 million? I think 50 million is probably the most. But think about it. 10 to 50 million? That's a ton. That's a very large country. A very large country. So what's my point? I'm telling you now, these videos, and like I said, I've been on social media. The amount of censorship I had is just ridiculous. So I'm not even believing anymore that this is going to work. But it doesn't matter anymore. If you predict the future and you're right, it's going to happen whether you believe me or not. And there are 3 things you're going to have to do because this system's going to get worse. You're going to leave America. It's happening more and more. More Americans are leaving. Trump is not going to say this. 2, you're going to have to get off the grid. Think about some type of rural farm in America, or maybe go to Canada, but you're living on a farm and you are off the grid and you're going to ride out the storm. Or 3, there's only one political solution. It's going to be state politics. The federal government, it's done. So anyone that's still saying, hey, we got to vote for this president, we have to get to Washington, D.C., they're talking out their asshole. It's not going to happen. The only saving grace you're going to have, notice I keep saying about 10 or 30 million people. Think of a state in America. I don't know. I don't know the populations of some of these states. Some of these states are very small. Maybe there's only 5 million. Maybe there's only 15 million. Think of like South Dakota. You need to put, again, this is if you're like, David, I don't want to leave America. David, I'm not much of a farmer. I don't know how to live off the grid. I need to fight for this country. How do I do it? Well, like I said, one of them is you better get ready, get your guns and ammo ready, and you better get the Bible ready because it's going to get violent. But if you're really looking for a political solution, at least to give it a try, it's 100% going to be at the state level. You are going to need to put your political capital behind a governor. And there needs to be a governor sooner or later that says, come to this state, or what does this state say? I'm going to give you an example on this. I mean, look at my, I've got 4 people. There's 4 people looking. Look at this. I have 4 people seem to be looking. 2 of them are probably from the United States government. 1 could be from a foreign government. So I probably have 1 viewer. This is what it is. This is what a West Point grad whistleblower situation in America. The amount of censorship. There's 4 viewers that are currently watching. 2 are probably from the United States government. 1 could possibly be from a foreign government. And then we have 1, I'm going to say an American, just saying, well, I got nothing to do. Let me look at here. This is it. So let me just leave it to you on this point. I see cool kid, prior USA government. I see the cool kid on here. Let me give you this example. I'm going to show you this. Now, if you remember me, I was a Trump supporter. I guess I still am, but he's a total horseshit. Again, the Trump administration knows about me, so they're not really fighting corruption, and they're going to go down. But I have yet to ever endorse any other person at the federal level. Because remember, when I left in 2010, it's over. But I got to admit, when I was in Shanghai at the time when Trump ran for president, he kind of lighted my fire on nationalism. But what he said he's not doing. I'm going to give you an example. 99% of the MAGA people, they're like, we're nationalists. You're not. You're not nationalists. It's just you're kind of like, you know, a rhino, a same sort of, you're not nationalist. I'm going to give you an example, and I want you to feel this from a leadership standpoint. I want you to put yourself in this situation and understand what nationalism is and where, if you really want to change America, this is how you're going to go. Let's pick one of the most MAGA states there are. I don't know. I'm just going to take a guess and say Texas. You know, it sounds like a red state to me. I'm not so much into Texas. If I was in America, something about maybe the middle countries are better, you know, Montana, something, maybe Wyoming, but whatever. You get my point. We're going to just pick Texas, and we're going to assume that Texas, we're talking it's 99%, 100%, it's MAGA country. And we're going to make that assumption. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump goes and does a campaign trail. Like, think about next week. He goes to Texas, he does a campaign, and they love him. Despite the Iran war, whatever, the economy's going to shit. This is a sold-out stadium, and these people love Trump. As Trump is speaking, he looks to the people, you know, whatever. There's a lot of state representatives there, and he says, you know, I heard that 100% of you voted for me in the election. Is that true? Absolutely. They love him, you know, and you're all about MAGA. Everyone wants to make America great again, right? They love him. And then all of a sudden, Trump says, all right, I want to hear a big, loud roar from everyone, America first. And all of a sudden, there's a bit of a silence in the stadium. And one of the state representatives, maybe the governor, because the governor would be there also listening, he says, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but this is Texas, and it's Texas first. And the crowd erupts in a roar, and they say, Texas first, Mr. President, but America second. We love you, Mr. President. We're MAGA, but it's Texas first, and it's America second. And then Donald Trump, think if that was said. Now, CNN would love it just to insult Donald Trump, but don't fool yourself. CNN and Fox News are the same thing. They both don't like it. So CNN would just love it because it's an insulting to Donald Trump. Because again, they play each other back and forth. But really, CNN wouldn't like that either. Fox News would be shocked. So the text would say, we're Texas first, but we're America second. And then Donald Trump says, well, all right. You know that would shock Donald Trump. And Donald Trump says, well, all right, but I'm your first leader, right? Donald Trump first. I am your leader, right? And then they interrupt him again politely, say, we love you, Donald Trump, but our first leader is the governor, whoever that piece of shit is. I'll talk about, remember when the border was open and I don't know, with Governor Abbott, whatever that guy is in a wheelchair, he needs to retire. He's depending on the federal government. See, that border is also the border of Texas. He should have took control and said, before this is a federal border on the southern flank, there's ways to do it. I did videos before. He should have protected. So again, then they go back to Donald Trump. They said, sorry, Mr. President, but our first leader is our governor. Our governor comes first, but you come second, Donald Trump. How would that sound? Both from Fox News and from CNN, they both wouldn't like it because they work for the same boss. Then finally, Donald Trump says, because, of course, this is a make-believe scenario, but I want you to feel this leadership where you're going to need to go, because I keep saying it's either nationalism or die, people. It's over. Or be like me, you're going to leave. So then Donald Trump is very rattled. And then Donald Trump points to the American flag. And he says, well, wait a minute. If there's one thing we can all rally together in, it's that red, white, and blue right there. It's the American flag. That comes first, right? Pledge of Allegiance. And guess what the people in Texas do? Sorry, Mr. President. The number one flag in Texas is that state flag because it's Texas first. We salute the Texas flag first and then the American flag second. That would never fly. Now, we all know from not only a patriotism standpoint, not only from a common sense standpoint, even from a legal standpoint, a lot of that makes sense. Think about the governor of Texas. His primary duty is to serve and protect and abide by the citizens of the state of Texas first. And if you are a citizen of Texas, and then this goes with all states, doesn't matter. Your state comes first, but that's kind of been dissolved. But just picture that. Picture that instead of America first, which I keep saying, America first, it sounds good. It's a day late and a dollar short. It is what it is. There's no saving America. This ship is going to fall, people. You give it time. These videos are going to age like fine wine. Our systems aren't working. We know that. If they were, I wouldn't even be here. Look at X getting censored again. The future of politics is going to be state politics. Let me give you an example on this real quick. Because again, I don't really feel like talking that much, but picture this. Picture all these MAGA people. And remember, a lot of these MAGA people, they remind me of the typical Republicans, not like the Democrats are any better. A lot of it's about money. So they wave the American flag. They think being a patriot is all you have to do is wave an American flag. Let's see a military draft come. Now, I've always said that that's funny to see these MAGA people like, I love America. What makes you love it? I love everything. So show me your patriotism. The American flag, man. I do go ahead. Okay, well, there's a military draft. You need to sign up and die for America. They'd be like, no way. So anyway, it just seems about money. So let's picture this. All of a sudden in the future, 1, 2, or 3 states secede from America. They secede. Again, this is where I say I predict violence. I don't promote violence. I don't think it's going to happen peacefully, though. I think there's going to be a lot of gunfire in that decision. But anyway, we'll just say, we'll fast forward. All of a sudden, 3 states in America. It reminds me a little like Malaysia with Singapore seceding. Most people don't know the history of Singapore. Singapore originally was going to go back to Malaysia, but there were some legalities. And then Singapore said, well, let's become an independent country. And Singapore is one of the richest countries on earth. Same scenario in America. All of a sudden, a couple of these states say, fine, we're going to secede. We're going to become independent. We're not going to pay any federal taxes. And all of a sudden, they become as rich as can be. And they have a new flag. What do I think a lot of these MAGA people would do? Fuck this. I'm going to that state. They're going to leave. Meaning, I really think at the end of the day, and I've said this many times, the only thing, the last linchpin that's holding America together is economics. Remember, I keep saying collapse, revolution, civil war. Where is the collapse coming? It will be economic. Because economic is the only thing holding America together. We are not a Christian nation. I know it hurts people. We're not. I cannot tell you how many Christians I've met on X saying, can you please help me? Everyone knows me. I definitely support a Christian first America. None. We're not a white nation. Because I'm telling you, you start saying you're a white nation, white national, it will be white men and white women first that will stand in front of your face saying you're a racist, you're a white supremacist. So we're not a European country anymore. That's called racism. So what are we? Are we bound by the military? We don't support the military. What are we bound by? We are literally, I've said this many times, we are a globalist corporation in America. And the only thing that keeps a corporation going is money. As long as people get paid, they show up to their job. But if they don't get paid, the corporation doesn't have loyalty to the employees, and the employees, which that's what you are. You're not a citizen, you're an employee. The employees really don't have loyalty to the corporations. And again, I'm the same way. I wouldn't either. So once that money train stops, violence is coming. And that's part of the collapse. But it's the same part when I said about the MAGA, meaning if all of a sudden a couple of states were able to succeed and became very financially rich, it's the same thing a lot of these rich Americans, where are they going to? Dubai, Singapore, Switzerland, very similar thing. Look at Peter Thiel going to Argentina. He's going to literally make that country his own. So there's really no loyalty to it. So anyway, that's enough for today. I really don't feel like talking too much, but if you made it through, I appreciate your support. But if you want the leadership lesson today, remember this. Sooner or later, this system is going to fail because the systems aren't working. It's going to get worse and worse. And you're going to be left with 3 decisions. And in future videos, if I make them, then we'll go more into depth. But there's only 3 choices. Choice number 1 is to leave America, which is daunting. What country do you go to? How do you leave? But I'm telling you, more and more Americans are leaving. And I think America is still, I guess, a great country. And I'm not doing this to rub it in. I'm not sounding arrogant, but I don't really miss America. If I never go back to America for the rest of my life, I'm absolutely fine. So again, people misinterpret it saying, please, I want to come back to America. Well, I have a constitutional right to go back to America. My passport should be flagged. That's it. But whatever. I don't want to get into it. But one of them is you're going to have to leave America. Two, and it's happening, people are going to have to start learning to get off the grid, where you're going to learn a more self-reliant lifestyle back to farming, which I think is cool. But I definitely think it's harder said than done. And you're just going to get off the grid. Probably Americans are either going to go to Canada or go more to the rural places in America, even places like Alaska. And you're just like, I'm done. I don't really want to leave America. You know, I don't want to learn a foreign language. I don't know. I just feel safer legally. I live in this country, but I want to get out of here. And you're just going to get off the grid. And then the third is you are literally going to look at Washington, D.C., these presidential races, Congress, and just say, I'm done. And truly done is you're not going to pay your taxes anymore. And you are going to put your political capital into state politics. And you're going to demand that the governor puts the state first, the people in that state first. And less, one of the big demands is less and less of your tax money, maybe everything, is paid to the federal government. Done. I'm just giving a quick example. Look at the fraud that's happening in Minnesota, right? With the Somali, like we go, you have fraud in all this fraud. But watch this. What if you were living in a state in America and you paid zero federal tax? You're probably going to have to pay state tax, because I agree. I'm not one of these believers that no one pays no taxes. Maybe it is. There's people that say sovereign citizens pay no tax. I'd be interested in learning about that. But usually it's the same thing, like we need policemen, we need soldiers. But you pay zero federal tax. You know, you're from Wyoming. I think Wyoming has no taxes, but whatever. One state, you're going to have to, you'll pay state tax, which makes it easier to, what's the word I'm looking for, have oversight on corruption. But you pay zero federal tax. How would you feel then when you hear about these scandals in California that are using other people's federal tax money? Because you don't pay any taxes. Like me, I'm overseas. I pay zero American tax. It does put you in a better position where you're like, you would say something like, if those dumb white people in Minnesota want to be frauded by the Somalis or whatever, I don't care, because my tax money, meaning whatever state, I pay zero federal income tax. It would change your mind in some ways. That's where we're going. Because I'm telling you, 350 million people, we're not coming together, people. We're not coming. And I was supposed to do an episode on X where I was going to talk about it, but I think because I've got totally suspended on X, the person doesn't know my email address or whatever. I'm probably not going to speak on the program X. And I was going to go more in depth on how do you do this. But remember this, it's only three ways. State politics, off the grid, or leave the country. There's nothing. But if you listen to anyone that says you wave J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio or what, Gavin Newsom or whatever, they're going to fix the system in Washington, D.C. If you still believe that paying your taxes and voting is going to fix the system, you are the perfect drone. You are definitely heavily, in fact, you should join the military. They need people like you. As long as you're like, well, it's my duty to pay taxes. And if you want to change the system, the best way to do it is vote. That's how we're going to do it. As long as you continue to believe that, you are the perfect drone that they need. Anyway, let me look at, I see cool kid, interesting, cool kid. Our state is constantly pushing liberal gay diversity. I'm going to talk about that, but I'll just give you a hint. The best way to do this, and I'm telling you, your enemies are not liberals. But what I'm going to tell you is, if the red states need to become red, and the blue states, I don't care. I'll make an example. We still have these dumb military veterans, and I focus on the officer corps, that still think we need to go back to Afghanistan and save all the women because they're under Sharia law and save them. What do I think about Afghanistan? Don't really care much about it. Best of luck to them. I don't have a problem with them. They're not me, they're not you. And so I'm not spending any of my tax money. I'm not dying. Boom. Take that now into America. Hey, do you know that California they're making the Second Amendment illegal and drugs, and they're cutting boys' penises off? I don't care. But we have to separate. I don't pay federal taxes, none of that stuff. That's the attitude. I'm telling you, don't fight with the liberals. The best way to look at, I'm telling you, you're going to believe me sooner or later. The best thing to do with the liberals is say, you own your blue state, Don't fucking come to this red state, though. If you are a conservative, you're a patriot, you need to own your red state, number one, and leave the blue states alone. Why? We got bigger problems. It's called Washington, D.C. As long as your federal tax money is not being paid, then you're not going to support those programs. It's the same thing in Afghanistan. We are falling apart. I just don't have the time, money, and effort to really care about people in Afghanistan. Sooner or later, it's going to come to a country with 350 million people. When you say, do you know what they're doing in California? I could care less, man. I'm Texas, and it's Texas first. And that's why we're not paying any more federal taxes. So at least I know none of my money is going to California. And if any one of those people want to come to Texas, maybe Texas needs to start implementing an immigration system with it. This is where it's going, people. It's going to go to state politics. It's the only way to solve it. Don't think so? Give it time. Because nothing's going to work. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And history will repeat. Empires fall. Until then, you got this Indian man as your FBI director. You got this salesman as your president right here. You got JD Vance also doing the India. The whole thing's a joke. It's such a joke. Give it time. And like I said, you got a military veteran like me censored, and you think I'm going to say, well, I really need to pay my tax money. I need to believe in voting. And if there's ever a military draft, well, sign me up. I'm willing to die for my country. No way, buddy. It's done. And more, particularly the red states, let's face it, it's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be majority white, Christian, heterosexual, high testosterone white men. That's going to probably be a pretty good segment right there. That's going to be the red. And those people are going to say, I'm done. I'm cashing out. I'm not into this. I'm not paying my taxes. I'm not buying into this system, whatever. And they're going to start saying, but did you hear in Minnesota, there are Somalis? I don't care. If these cucks in Minnesota want to allow these Somalis to, I don't care. We're not paying our federal tax anymore. That's where it's going, people. It's going to go. And I think what happens is it's called the first mover principle in leadership. Who are really the first movers? It's kind of me, meaning because when that happens, it's going to start getting dangerous. Because let's face it, if you say you're not going to pay your taxes, or that's why the governors are all pussies, because the governor that you're looking for that's going to stand up to Washington, D.C., that guy's going to have some balls. They don't. So once we get into that line, in that phase, it's going to get dangerous. But there are other people that say, I'm not going to wait around for that dangerous time. And I think I'm smart enough. I'm just going to leave America. And they're going to leave. So when that phase comes, it's going to get dangerous. But think about it. Think of all the governors. You think I'm wrong? I'll go back to that example with the southern border. The governor of Texas, that border is both a federal border and a state border. So when those illegal immigrants, we always like to blame President Biden. You had a governor on there. He could have done a lot of stuff. He could have just deputized the civilians and just said, shoot on sight, no crime. I mean, there's a lot of things, but you know what I'm talking about. The governors in America, we're talking 50 governors, they're all schleps. They're all schleps. They say, yes, Mr. President. Well, that's it. You have not seen, what did I predict? You have not seen real leadership yet. I've always said, Donald Trump, the best is yet to come. I've always said that. You are going to start seeing a governor come out and he's going to push back on the federal government, to include not wanting to pay federal taxes anymore. And I'm telling you, those people in that state, are probably a red state, they are going to rally behind that governor because that's what they want. But talk about dangerous. Talk about people say, protect Donald Trump at all costs. Yeah, you better protect that governor at all costs. That governor could be taken out. That's how it is. Don't think so? Give it time. Anyway, let's go with some mighty Megatron. I've been telling those transients from out of state not to come here. The best thing, I should do a video. I really wanted to do this because I'm telling you, there's a way to unite the liberals and the conservatives, even though I think it'll break up. Because let's face it, there's far right, then there's normal right, then there's normal left and far left. I mean, I don't know if America's going to really break up into two spheres. But anyway, stop wasting your time, money, and effort fighting with the liberals. The only fight you want to do is liberals, you stay in your state and not in my state. Meaning if you're red, own your red state. And if you're not in a red state, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to move. And if you're in a red state and you see a liberal there, you tell them to get the fuck out. Say, get the fuck out. But when you start hearing stories like, do you hear what they're doing in California? Don't care. That's what you're going to have to, the attitude is, I don't care. That's California. They can do what they want. They want to have transsexuals, more power to them. I don't care. It's like the same thing that dumb people's like, I want to save the world. It's like, do you know they're starving kids in Africa now? We have to go to Africa and save them. Don't care. Don't care. Your red state is falling apart. Why do you care about Minnesota? I don't care. If the people in Minnesota want to have a Somalia as their governor, it is what it is. It just, that's where I'm telling you, state politics is the future. Because this ship called the Titanic, America, it's going to fall. And there's no, you're going to have no ambition, no time, no effort, no money too, to be worrying about these other blue states. It's the same thing, your house. Your house is falling apart and your wife is nagging you about the next door neighbor. You know what the neighbor, listen, I care less about the next door neighbor. The bank is literally going to foreclose on this house. We have to start getting our things in order to save this house. Whatever the neighbor's doing, I don't care. That's how it's going to be. That is the essence of state. So this whole thing, this is why I was very different than Charlie Kirk. I just wouldn't. The battle is not with the liberals. The battle is let whatever the liberals are own their blue states. I'm telling you, there's 350 million people in America. We're not coming together, people. I've said this many times. There's 1% of the population are military veterans. We don't even get along. We are not, how many military veterans have come to my aid? Nothing. I mean, a couple there. I don't want to underestimate or understate that I have gotten help. But the point is military veterans are not even come together. 350 million people are diverse. The fighting, because that's what they want to do. I'll save for another video, but this whole thing, the liberals, the conservatives, that's what they want to do. What's the enemy number one? It's Washington, D.C., people. It's Washington, D.C. is enemy number one. The best thing to do with the liberals is don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with you. You take your state. Let's focus on Washington, D.C. And what is that? Don't pay taxes anymore. Talk about that. A governor says, my campaign promise as the governor of Ohio, well, not Ohio, you're going to have Vivek Ramaswamy as Ohio. I don't know where you go anymore. And Vivek Ramaswamy's MAGA. Oh my God, these are the MAGA. This is how pathetic. We got to end soon. This is how pathetic MAGA is. Now they're starting to use the word racist and Nazi and white supremacist against their enemies. Like that, now MAGA is liberal. Don't be racist. Those are a bunch of Nazis. This is MAGA. You're going to have Vivek Ramaswamy as your MAGA leader as Ohio. So I don't know what state it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be Texas. But talk about a great campaign slogan. No federal taxes. That's a good campaign slogan. That's a great way to get rid of corruption. It's like a fire. Instead of focusing on extinguishing the fire, stop putting wood or gasoline on the fire. Stop paying your taxes. Campaign slogan. Hi, I'm Governor Baumblatt. I'm running for Texas. And the campaign slogan is no more federal. Now we're going to have state taxes. No more federal taxes. I bet a lot of people would be like, that sounds good to me. And then think about it. What if you're in a state and you pay zero federal taxes? You will, again, it's never going to get like this until they're guns and ammo. But you know as well as I do, if you paid zero federal taxes, you would look upon California or Minnesota differently because you're like, wow, that's a screwed up state, but I'm not paying any of my taxes in that. And they're going to have to figure out themselves. And I keep saying, we'll end it here, but at the end of the day, even Texas had a population shift. Yeah, well, like I said, you're just going to have to let the laws of nature, the tectonic plates of politics play their game. But there's going to be a portion of Americans that just say, I'm done. I'm out of here. And they're going to leave. But if you don't leave, like I said, the best advice is stop fighting with the liberals and the liberals stop fighting with the conservatives. But own your state. Don't allow liberals into your state. And if you're a conservative in a liberal state, you're probably going to have to leave. It just is what it is. Don't think so? We'll see it. Anyway, this is David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership. I'm done with X. Like I said, I will not go. It's so embarrassing for a grown man to get kicked. Like I'm on, I feel like I'm an 18-year-old kid. Like, please, Dad, please, Elon Musk. I know you just became a trillionaire and you never served in the military, but can I please get on X again? It's complete fucking embarrassing. Unless I'm somehow invited back or someone helps me or someone really wants me on X, and I'm done. Not doing it. Fifth account suspended. Not for me. What a complete, absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? An unpatriotic, disloyal, absolute shame this is on the United States government, because let's face it, Elon Musk is in the White House to do to a military veteran, and they're silent about it. And guess what? It's just one of many. So anyway, until the meantime, David Baumblatt from Terrabin's Leadership. Appreciate your support to the Patriots. Lead to victory.